You know what nobody tells you when you start prepping? That some of the most important survival items you can buy will literally flag you in a database somewhere. I'm Zach, I've been prepping since 2012, and today I'm gonna walk you through 11 specific items that can put you on what I call the prepper blacklist. These aren't conspiracy theories. These are documented realities based on existing regulations, reporting requirements, and surveillance systems that are already in place. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which purchases trigger attention, why they matter, and more importantly, how to think strategically about building your preparedness without painting a giant target on your back. Here's what makes this topic so crucial. We live in a time where preparing for emergencies is simultaneously encouraged and monitored. The government wants you prepared enough that you won't drain emergency resources during a crisis, but not so prepared that you can operate completely independently of the system. There's an invisible line, and certain purchases push you across it. What you're about to learn isn't about living in fear. It's about making informed decisions with your eyes wide open. Let's get into it. Item number 1 is night vision and thermal optics. This is a big threshold to cross, and here's why. When you purchase advanced night vision devices like PVS-14 monoculars or high-end thermal scopes, you're not just buying hunting equipment. You're acquiring technology that's regulated under ITAR, the International Traffic in Arms Regulations. These items are classified as defense articles, which means every sale is documented and that information can be shared with federal agencies. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't own night vision. What I am saying is that you need to understand what happens when you make that purchase. Sellers are required to verify you're a U.S. citizen, your transaction gets logged, and in the eyes of federal agencies, you've just acquired a capability that gives you a significant tactical advantage in low light conditions. That's a capability they've historically wanted to monopolize. Think about it from their perspective. Night vision technology allows you to move, observe, and operate when most people are blind. That's exactly the kind of force multiplier that makes someone stand out in a database. Is it legal to own? Absolutely, in most cases. Does it flag you as someone with enhanced capabilities? Also, yes. The key is understanding this trade-off before you click that buy button.
Item number 2 is high-capacity fuel storage, and this one surprises a lot of people. I'm not talking about keeping a few 5-gallon gas cans in your garage for your lawnmower. I'm talking about 55-gallon drums, 250-gallon tanks, or larger stationary fuel storage systems for gasoline or diesel. Here's the thing about fuel. It represents energy independence. With enough stored fuel, you can run generators, power vehicles, operate farm equipment, and maintain mobility when everyone else is stuck. In a crisis where fuel is rationed or distribution is controlled, having your own reserve means you've bypassed their control mechanism entirely. Large fuel purchases and storage installations require permits in many jurisdictions. Fire marshals get involved, hazmat regulations apply. Environmental agencies track it. All of this creates a paper trail that leads directly to your door. And here's the uncomfortable truth that I learned back in 2016 when I was researching emergency powers legislation. During declared emergencies, there are existing legal frameworks that allow for the requisition or seizure of critical resources, including fuel reserves. Your strategic thinking has essentially created a map for resource collection. You thought you were being responsible. You thought you were ensuring your family could weather a prolonged crisis, and you were. But you also made yourself visible to any agency tasked with securing fuel supplies during an emergency. It's a calculated risk that you need to understand going in. Item number 3 gets into medical supplies, but not the basic stuff. I'm talking about prescription antibiotics, surgical kits, advanced trauma supplies, and bulk medical equipment. A standard first aid kit doesn't raise eyebrows. But when you start ordering things like fish antibiotics in bulk, multiple surgical kits, cases of hemostatic gauze, chest seals, and tourniquets, pattern recognition systems start paying attention. The algorithms that monitor purchasing behavior are looking for anomalies. Why does a civilian household need trauma supplies appropriate for treating multiple casualties? Why are you stockpiling antibiotics? Are you preparing for mass casualty events? Are you planning to operate a medical facility outside the regulated healthcare system? I get it. The logic is sound. In a true collapse scenario, medical care might be unavailable. Having the ability to treat serious injuries or infections could save lives. But from a surveillance perspective, this kind of purchasing behavior signals someone who's preparing to operate independently of government-controlled healthcare infrastructure. That makes you interesting to certain agencies. The invisible line exists between being a responsible prepper with a good trauma kit and someone who appears to be preparing for warfare or complete societal breakdown. Where that line sits is subjective and probably varies by jurisdiction, but it exists. And crossing it means your purchases generate reports. Item number 4 is secure communication equipment. I'm talking about encrypted radios, military-grade radio systems with encryption capabilities, and sophisticated ham radio setups with digital encrypted modes. In a world where every phone call, text message, and email can potentially be monitored, the ability to communicate privately is a powerful thing. Standard ham radios are one thing. When you start acquiring encryption capabilities, you're creating a black hole in the surveillance grid. You're establishing the ability to coordinate, organize, and communicate in ways that can't be easily monitored. That's exactly the kind of capability that draws attention. Think about what happens during any major emergency. Cell networks get overloaded or go down entirely. The government becomes the primary source of information and instructions. If you've got a private communication network with encryption, you can operate outside that information control structure. You can verify what you're being told. You can coordinate with others. You can make independent decisions based on unfiltered information. That independence is threatening to any system that relies on controlling information flow. Sales of advanced communication equipment can be tracked. Online forums where these topics are discussed are monitored. The community itself is watched. It's not paranoia to recognize this reality, it's situational awareness. Now, before we go further, I want to share something with you that's going to make all of this more practical and actionable. Because I know how overwhelming preparedness can feel, especially when you're trying to figure out what to prioritize and how to do it on a budget. I've put together a completely free guide that reveals how to turn just $50 into a 90-day food supply for when life gets unpredictable. This guide is something I personally developed based on years of trial and error, and it's designed to help you build your family's food security and peace of mind with a simple, proven plan. You don't need experience, and you definitely don't need a massive budget to get started. Here's what you're going to find inside this free guide. First, the exact $50 shopping list that feeds your family for more than 90 days. I'm talking specific brands, specific prices, everything you need to know. Second, 37 essential preparedness items that most people never think to stockpile. Number 23 is going to surprise you. I also include the simple storage trick that works whether you're in a house or a small apartment. You're going to learn how to make emergency meals with zero cooking fuel or electricity required. There's even a gas station snack that's perfect for bartering, which is something people don't think about enough. The guide walks you through scaling up from 1 week to 3 months with confidence, gives you storage strategies to keep your supplies organized and fresh for years, and reveals the one oil that stays shelf-stable and safe for the long term. This is all yours completely free. The link is in the description below and in the pinned comment. Just click it and let me know where to send your copy. Trust me, this is one of those resources you're going to reference again and again as you build your preparedness foundation. All right, let's get back to the blacklist. Item number 5 is large-scale water purification and filtration systems. I'm not talking about a Sawyer Mini or a Life Straw for your bug-out bag. I'm talking about systems capable of purifying hundreds or thousands of gallons of water, systems that could serve a neighborhood or small community. Water is more critical than food. You can survive weeks without food, but only days without water. After any major disaster, clean water becomes the most precious resource. A system that can turn contaminated water into safe drinking water on a large scale essentially becomes critical infrastructure. Here's the problem. Critical infrastructure can be commandeered, controlled, or seized during emergencies. When you purchase industrial-scale filtration equipment, you're signaling that you have the capability to be water independent, not just for yourself, but potentially for a larger group. That makes you a person of interest. In a crisis, they need to know where water purification capabilities exist so they can potentially requisition or control them. The logic from a government perspective makes sense. They need to manage resources and prevent chaos, but from your perspective, as someone trying to take responsibility for your family and maybe help your neighbors, it feels like punishment for being prepared. It's a tension that exists throughout emergency management policy. Item number 6 is body armor and tactical gear. This is where things get really interesting, because body armor is purely defensive equipment. It doesn't hurt anyone, it just protects the wearer. Yet in many jurisdictions, it's increasingly restricted, and purchases are definitely tracked. When you buy ceramic or steel plates and a plate carrier, that purchase gets logged right alongside any firearms purchases. The databases talk to each other. If you've also bought night vision, bulk ammunition, and secure radios, your profile escalates significantly. The algorithm sees someone who's not just prepared for emergencies, but equipped for tactical operations. Body armor represents a philosophical statement. It says, I believe there might come a time when threats to my safety are serious enough that I need ballistic protection. That's a reasonable conclusion given certain scenarios, but it's also a mindset that makes authorities nervous. They see someone who's thinking about armed confrontations, even if you're just thinking about protecting yourself during civil unrest. State laws vary dramatically on this. Some places don't care at all. Others have started restricting purchases or requiring registration. The trend is toward more restriction, not less, which tells you everything you need to know about how these items are perceived. Item number 7 is bulk ammunition and reloading supplies. This is probably the most widely known item on this list, but people don't always understand the full scope of the monitoring. It's not just about the quantity, it's about the pattern. Every case of ammunition you buy gets logged, especially if you're using a credit card. Financial institutions are required to file suspicious activity reports for unusual purchasing patterns. What defines unusual? That's subjective, but buying thousands of rounds definitely qualifies. The algorithms watch for recurring bulk purchases over time. They're building a profile of your ammunition stockpile based on your buying behavior.
Reloading supplies take this to another level because they represent ammunition independence. Primers, powder, bullets, brass, and the equipment to assemble them means you're closing the loop. You're not dependent on ammunition manufacturers or distributors. In their eyes, you're becoming a small-scale ammunition producer. There have been efforts to track and restrict reloading components more heavily, including proposals for serialization, taxation, and purchase limits. Every time there's a push for more gun control, reloading supplies get mentioned because they represent the ability to maintain shooting capabilities even if ammunition sales are restricted. If you're still watching, I can tell you're serious about being prepared, and I want to make sure you never miss content that could genuinely make a difference for you and your family. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This channel is all about practical preparedness without the fear-mongering, and I've got a lot more to share with you. Item number 8 is drones and surveillance equipment. Drones have become incredibly affordable and capable over the last few years. For a prepper, a drone represents situational awareness. You can scout your property, check roads, identify threats at a distance, and gather intelligence without exposing yourself to danger. It's a massive force multiplier. But drones are also heavily regulated and monitored. You have to register with the FAA. Remote ID requirements mean your drone broadcasts its location and your location in real time during flight. Manufacturers log flight data. Many drones upload GPS tracks and even video footage to cloud servers. All of this is subpoena-ready. No-fly zones are expanding. Restrictions during emergencies would likely ground civilian drones immediately, citing responder safety or national security. But the real reason is information control. They don't want civilians having aerial surveillance capabilities that could contradict official narratives or reveal things they don't want revealed.
Owning a drone gives you truth unfiltered. You can see what's actually happening in your area with your own eyes, or at least your own camera. But it also creates a detailed digital trail leading straight to your door. The advantage comes with exposure, and you need to weigh that carefully. Item number 9 is bulk seeds and small-scale farming equipment. This one catches people off guard because seeds seem so innocent. What's threatening about heirloom tomato seeds? The answer is food independence. Control food and you control people. It's been true throughout history. When you purchase 50-pound bags of grains, massive heirloom seed orders, walk behind tractors, grain mills, canning supplies, and everything else needed for small-scale food production, you're signaling that you're building parallel infrastructure. You're working toward a future where you can feed yourself and others without the industrial food system. In normal times, this is just homesteading. In crisis times, it becomes something different. There's historical precedent for the nationalization or seizure of agricultural production during emergencies. Your seeds, your equipment, your harvest could be declared community assets or requisitioned for the common good. These purchases aren't tracked the same way firearms are, at least not yet. But the paper trail exists. Large agricultural purchases from suppliers create records. Bulk seed orders from major companies go into databases. If they need to, they could map who has the capability to produce food outside the system. The more capable you are of food independence, the less leverage the system has over you. And that makes you interesting to the people who rely on maintaining leverage over populations during crises. Item number 10 is precious metals, specifically gold and silver. Real money, tangible wealth that doesn't depend on the financial system. This might actually be the most dangerous item on the list because there's clear historical precedent for confiscation. Executive Order 6102, signed on April 5, 1933, required Americans to turn in their gold in exchange for paper money at a fixed rate. Refusal meant heavy fines and potential prison time. It happened. It's not speculation, and the legal framework that allowed it then still exists today. Currently, large precious metal purchases trigger reporting requirements. Dealers have to file reports for transactions over certain thresholds. Anti-money laundering and know your customer laws mean they're tracking flows of real money. They know who's building personal reserves of gold and silver. In a financial crisis, capital controls could be implemented overnight. Digital-only currency could be mandated. Physical precious metals could be declared contraband or subject to forced redemption at government-set prices. Roadblocks with metal detectors, seizures during searches. The technology and the legal framework both exist. Owning gold and silver is smart. It's preserved wealth for thousands of years. But understand that you're holding something the government has claimed a right to in the past and could claim a right to again in the future. The more you buy, especially through documented channels, the more visible you become. Item number 11 is the one that ties everything together, and it might be the most important one to understand. It's not a physical item, it's information itself. Specifically, information about preparedness, survivalism, and resistance to government overreach. The books you buy, the websites you visit, the videos you watch, the forums you participate in, all of it creates a profile. You think you're just learning and connecting with like-minded people, but every click is logged, every purchase is recorded, every download is tracked, every forum post is archived. The profile being built about you isn't just based on what you buy, it's based on what you're interested in, what you're learning, who you associate with, and what your mindset appears to be. This is the deepest level of the blacklist, not just what you own, but what you think. And here's what concerns me about this. You can choose not to buy night vision to stay under the radar. You can decide book ammunition isn't worth the attention. But shutting down your learning and research because you're worried about surveillance? That's self-censorship. That's letting the watchers win without them even having to do anything. Back in 2018, I had to make a decision about this. I knew that running a preparedness channel meant I was visible. I knew that researching and teaching this content would put me on someone's radar somewhere. But I decided that the mission was more important than invisibility. Helping people become more prepared and resilient was worth the trade-off of being watched. That's a personal decision, everyone has to make for themselves, but make it consciously. Understand what you're trading when you engage with preparedness content in communities. So let me recap the 11 items on the Prepper Blacklist. Number 1, night vision and thermal optics. Number 2, high-capacity fuel storage. Number 3, certain medical supplies in bulk. Number 4, secure communication equipment with encryption capabilities. Number 5, large-scale water purification systems. Number 6, body armor and tactical gear. Number 7, bulk ammunition and reloading supplies. Number 8, drones and surveillance equipment. Number 9, bulk seeds and farming equipment. Number 10, precious metals like gold and silver. And number 11, information and education about preparedness itself.
Each one of these makes sense individually. Together, they paint a picture. They build a profile. And someone is always watching. That's just the reality we live in. Now, here's what I want you to understand. This isn't about fear. This isn't about giving up on preparedness because you're worried about attention. This is about making strategic decisions with full information. Some of these items might be worth the visibility because they're critical to your plans. Others might not be worth the trade-off for your specific situation. The key is something called operational security. It's a military concept that applies perfectly to preparedness. Don't advertise what you have. Don't post photos of your stockpiles on social media. Don't brag to neighbors about your preps. Keep your capabilities private. The fewer people who know what you have, the better off you are. Buy strategically. Cash transactions don't create the same digital trail as credit cards. Smaller purchases over time are less visible than bulk orders. Private party sales leave fewer records than dealer transactions. I'm not telling you to do anything illegal. I'm telling you to think about how your purchasing behavior creates patterns that can be analyzed. Diversify where you buy from. Don't put all your purchases through one vendor or one platform. Spread things out. Mix up your patterns. Make yourself harder to profile. Most importantly, prioritize intelligence and skills over gear. Knowledge can't be confiscated. Skills can't be tracked. The ability to improvise, adapt, and overcome doesn't show up in any database. A person with knowledge and skills but minimal gear is more dangerous, in the best sense of that word, than someone with every item on this list but no idea how to actually survive. I've been doing this since 2012, and I've seen the landscape change. Things that didn't matter 10 years ago matter now. Surveillance has expanded. Databases have been connected. Algorithms have gotten smarter. The trend is toward more monitoring, not less. That's the environment we're operating in, and we have to be smart about it. But don't let this discourage you. Preparedness is still absolutely worth pursuing. Being ready for emergencies, taking responsibility for your family's safety, building resilience and self-reliance. These are good things, noble things. You're doing the right thing by being here, by learning, by taking action. Just do it with your eyes open. Understand the trade-offs. Make conscious decisions. And never sacrifice operational security for ego or social media validation. Before we wrap up, if you haven't grabbed that free guide yet, seriously, go get it. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. It's going to walk you through building a 90-day food supply, starting with just $50. That's the foundation. That's where everyone should start. Food security first. Then you can think about everything else we've talked about today. The guide is completely free, it's comprehensive, and it's going to save you a ton of time and money by helping you avoid common mistakes. If this video was valuable to you, do me a favor. Hit that like button, drop a comment below, and let me know which item on this list surprised you the most. And share this with anyone you know who's interested in preparedness. This is information that needs to get out there. Subscribe if you haven't already, because I'm going to keep bringing you content like this. Real talk about preparedness without the nonsense. Practical information you can actually use, and strategies that work in the real world we actually live in, not some fantasy collapse scenario. Remember, the goal isn't to be invisible. The goal is to be capable, resilient, and smart about how you operate. The best preppers aren't the ones with the most gear. They're the ones who know how to think strategically, act decisively, and survive whatever comes their way. Stay safe out there. Stay smart and stay prepared. I'll see you in the next one.